This is getting very little coverage and should be a major story because it would impact all of us. Here's what I don't. Here's what I absolutely in 100 years, 700 years will not support is it being done by a sneaky U.S.-Israeli corporate alliance that is not telling people what they're doing. And this is from Wired magazine. A mysterious startup is developing a new form of solar geoengineering. They're called Stardust, and they're an Israeli-U.S. partnership. A new startup called Stardust seeks developing proprietary geoengineering technology that would help block sun rays from reaching the planet. Stardust formed in 2023 and is based in Israel, but incorporated in the United States. No, but Israel and the U.S. are two completely different things, right? There's been discussion of putting particles into the sky in order to allow humanity to survive. Unfortunately, the big, we should, instead of doing that, we should change the way we live so that we don't destroy our Earth. Another is that they can never know the full ramifications 50 and 100 years from now of putting this stuff into the sky. It may work great for 20 years of slightly decreasing the sun's rays so that things are not as hot. And then maybe after 20 years, things get colder and colder, and all of a sudden we're in a new ice age. Very tough. And if you look at the track record of corporations of deciding whether something is safe for humanity, long-term is not really their thing. If you look at Roundup herbicide or dozens of other things, which actually I listed them on a bunch of them on the last Unredacted Tonight, lead in our water and asbestos and all this stuff. They're not great with the long term. So I don't know if I trust corporate anything to decide that this is the way humanity should go. But they're saying in this article, most geoengineering research today is led by scientists in the U.S. at universities and federal agencies, and the work they're doing is more or less accessible to public scrutiny. That sounds like it might be important. Stardust is at the forefront of an alternative path, one in which private companies drive the development and perhaps deployment of technologies that experts say could have profound consequences for the planet. Geoengineering projects, even those led by climate scientists at major universities, have drawn the ire of environmentalists. Such a deliberate transformation of the atmosphere has never been done, and many uncertainties remain. If a geoengineering project went awry, for example, it could contribute to air pollution and ozone loss, or have dramatic effects on weather patterns, such as disrupting monsoons in South and East Asia. And this is the problem with any large-scale changes to nature is it's very difficult to understand the ripple effects of what could end up happening. And a smaller example is they can now break up. They have powerful air guns that can disrupt clouds. I don't know if they fully break them up, but they break them up enough. They break them up enough that it decreases the rain over that area. So there was a car maker, maybe it was Volkswagen, that had hundreds of thousands of their cars parked at this area in Mexico, and they didn't want hail to happen in that area because literally they could lose like $1 billion if hail came down on these 100,000 cars. So they were using these, I'm calling them air guns, I don't know what they'd be called, but to slightly break up the clouds so that there was no rain or hail over this area of this car desert or whatever. And here's the thing, that it worked. And it also made it so that the town around that area received like zero rain. Nice. So there you go. The corporation gets what they want, and they think exactly zero about the long-term externalities of what they're doing. Stardust, go ahead.
I was trying to find a story that I covered years ago where something similar, they started testing, the startup started testing a geoengineering mechanism over indigenous tribes in New Mexico or something. I was trying to find that story, but it was the same thing. It was super secretive and no prior informed consent of the tribes. Right. Anyway.
Yeah. And I also covered, I think even ABC News did a report on it, but they acted like it was a fascinating thing rather than kind of horrifying. They did a 5-minute report on how we do cloud seeding even in the United States. I mean, China does it, the US does it, but it's very mysterious as to how much it's being done, where it's being done, where it's having an impact. And so it's like, oh, you're creating rain over certain areas and not others, and taking that rain from other areas, and basically no one knows what's going on. Stardust is moving ahead amid few national and international rules and limited oversight. So basically you can alter our planet, and there aren't even like rules on the books. A recent report by the company's former climate governance consultant. So this is someone that works in the company that's supposed to help them decide if what they're doing is good for the climate or dangerous. This person, Janos Pastor, called for the company to increase its transparency, engagement, and communication with outsiders. The report provides rare insight into the reticent company, and they've essentially done nothing. Oh yeah, here it is. The pastor said that the company has met zero, or has not met all of his requests. So yeah, there's not been an increase in transparency, and there's also very little media coverage. I mean,
also, it says that the company is led by a former head of Israel's very clandestine nuclear program. So that makes me feel good. Somebody who, you know.
Oh yeah, former deputy chief scientist at the Israel Atomic Energy Commission, which Israel, I covered this on the last live stream, that Israel's still refuses to say they have nuclear weapons, and our friend Sam Hosseini tried to ask the State Department about that the other day, and she would not even say the words Israel nuclear weapons.